Well, Mel Kiper over at ESPN's got a new number one draft pick. And if you've been watching Georgia play, it's not surprising who he's got at the top at this point. It's Jalen Carter, who was named an All American earlier today by the AP. If you want to watch Jalen play one of his last games at Georgia, because it's either going to be the Peach Bowl or the National Championship game, make sure you're checking out Ticket IQ. We've got a link right down below the book. Obviously, y'all know about the book. People are ordering it just in time for Christmas, which we really appreciate. Don't get me wrong, but there's been a lot of demand for the Peach Bowl, and there's a lot of no frills over at Ticket IQ. So make sure you're checking that out. And look, Jalen has been phenomenal these last few games. Here's what Mel Kiper writes about Jalen Carter. He says, "That's right, a new number one prospect. Carter has been fantastic since he returned in late October from missing 2 games because of a knee issue. He has 3 sacks in the last 5 games, in his past 5 games, including a show of force in the SEC championship game against LSU. That was when he was picking Daniels up, the LSU quarterback. Georgia had 5 defenders picked in round one last April, and Carter arguably was more disruptive than all of them in 2021. He's explosive at the snap and finishes well around the ball, even though he didn't put up huge numbers, 8.5 tackles for a loss. He has a big frame and can play as a 3 technique tackle. He can dominate from the interior. Jalen Carter might be the reason Georgia wins the national championship. And some of this is entertainment. I mean, we're talking about ESPN here. I'm old enough to remember when one company, one.com, put Trevor Lawrence at number one, then Justin Fields at number one, and then Trevor Lawrence at number one. I mean, some of this is just for show, for clicks, for eyeballs. You know who you are. And I mean, it's what it is, whatever. But, in this case, I do think Jalen has looked like the most dominant college football player in the sport. And lately. Um, Hendon Hooker just could not get going against Georgia, and that was because Carter and company, but Carter specifically, would not allow anything up the middle. And Hooker played okay against Georgia. I don't think it was great, but it was enough to cost him the Heisman. But Jalen Carter is a real challenge to deal with, and if you cannot function between the guards. I'm just going to say between the guards, not the tackles. If you can't really function in that area of the field, particularly, let's just say you not only can you not function, the other problem is that he gets pressure on the quarterback right up the middle. That's problematic, y'all. I mean, it's difficult enough to as an offense to run on Georgia, but when he's not just collapsing the pocket, but busting the pocket, then it really becomes trouble. And I think someone was texting me why, before the Tennessee game, why do you think Georgia's going to win? Because they've got Jalen Carter and he disrupts so much. Having seen CJ Stroud this weekend at the Heisman, long, lean, is not a big fan of running from all we can tell. He's going to have to move. I don't know if he's going to have to run. He's going to have to move with Jalen Carter playing ball there. Hey, look, Red Zone has got all you need, not just the book, although they do have it in person. And I think they have some shirts available when you get the book for free. So go there, but it's not just about the book. Make sure that you're checking everything out. They have some awesome panoramic photos. They have some very nice photos that are not Dean Leggies. They have all sorts of shirts, baby apparel, tweens, whatever it's called. Anything you could possibly want to find for the Bulldog on your Christmas list. That's where I would go. And I'm telling you, it's worth the trip from Gwinnett County. I know there's about 1 million people in Gwinnett County. And y'all, it is worth to go eat dinner downtown. There's a new Euro wrap downtown. You've got the place downtown. There's so many places downtown that you can go eat, and then you just go chill out at Red Zone and you're on your way, or vice versa. I mean, downtown Athens is, a jewel, and it is a wonderful place to experience a lot of things, and it's great to have Red Zone right there. It's a very big place to go shop, and they'll take care of you too. Very knowledgeable staff, if I do say so myself. And if they don't have it, you can ask them. If they don't have it on the rack, you can ask them. They very well could have it in the back. But with the Jalen thing, the Florida game, you sort of saw it, but it was Tennessee on where this is the Jalen Carter we've not seen up until that point. Against Oregon, he was a little bit banged up. The Missouri game, that looked bad. Just being there on the sideline, you could tell that was not an ideal situation for Georgia, Jalen Carter, whatever. And they kind of Georgia had to slop through that game and get the win. They were not playing well offensively. The defense lost Carter, then they lost Smile Munden. I mean, that's a lot up the middle to lose. They held on, only allowed 22 points or whatever it was. But it was not the way that it would typically be. Now we're coming into the most important part of the season. Georgia's gone through the gauntlet of this 12-game, slog, 8 games in the SEC, the Tech game, the Oregon game. There's been plenty of challenging games, but I'd say only in the last sort of 4 games, 5 games of the season have we seen the real Jalen Carter. Against Tennessee, he was noticeable. Against Mississippi State, he was noticeable. I'd say the same thing about Kentucky. I don't really remember what he did against Georgia Tech, to be honest. He was very noticeable against LSU. That's what you need from your superstars. You need great tickets to the Peach Bowl or National Championship, ticket IQ. You need great defensive line play, Jalen Carter. And, that against Florida, he was noticeable to some degree, but not like he was in November. And that last Tennessee State, Kentucky, LSU stretch, 4 of those 5 games, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong about the Tech. I don't remember that as well, frankly, but I wasn't on the field for much of that game either. So I just think that he is listed number 1 now in a mock draft situation, the number 1 on the big board, which is not the same as a mock draft. I understand that, but he really I think I've said disruptive like 15 times, but that's what you're going to get with Jalen. I mean, he's just nothing but trouble, y'all, for offenses. And as we've seen, it's hard enough without Jalen jamming things up. Now we got Nazir Stackhouse blocking kicks, and that comes though from fear of Jalen. So this Georgia team, I get the feeling Jalen's not done part of the way. I mean, it's one of the things about DAWGSTRUCTION that was challenging to some degree was picking out the images that you would use in the book. There's a lot of Jordan Davis in here, but there are some images. These guys are ragdolling Bryce Young right here. I can guarantee you he's trying to. It's part of that was caused by something Jalen did. That was one of the first plays of the game, and the image from the Vanderbilt game right here. You got 3 first-round guys. You very possibly in this image you have 2 first-round picks. That is a great image. I will say, if I do say so myself, you got 3 levels, which is what you'd like in photography. But those 3 guys, only one of them's left. Okay, and he's making his presence known right now. It's number 88. He's trouble. He might be the reason why Georgia wins the national championship. If the defense is not as good as it was a year ago. Statistically, visually, they're not. They're not a lot worse either. So it's both, right? But Jalen is as disruptive as we've seen. You still don't have Nolan. He's not coming back. But if Georgia goes to Los Angeles and wins it, my suspicion is Jalen Carter will have had a lot to do with it. Thanks for watching.